Hey, what's up everyone? So in the first part of this video, we were able to create this design using React and Tailwind CSS, and I'll leave a link to that video at the description section below. It's this one right here. And now in this particular video, I want us to perform payment using PayPal. So when you click on this button, we will be able to see this PayPal payment button. And once we click on this PayPal payment button, this pop-up will appear for us to perform the payment or the checkout. And you'll see it automatically logged me in because I'm already logged in to a Sandbox account. And I'll be showing you how you can get this account, okay? So we'll perform the setup together and so on. This is the current balance of the test account that I'm using for the payment. And I'll come back to my website. I need to use this pop-up and I'll complete the purchase here. So thank you for using PayPal. It's processing and let's wait, and you'll see here payment successful. So if we go back to this account which we used for payment, pay close attention to the balance and I refresh, you'll see that the balance has decreased, and you'll see now we have now here 9 March, which is the current date right now, and this is the payment that we performed. So when I click on it, you will see here we have the description as our candy sofa, which is this one. Okay, so another cool thing is that you can log into the business account. So let's try that and see the balance. So this is the business account here. So if I edit here, we will see if we received the payment. Okay, so I log out, then I'll log in with this email. So log in, and I'll press this one with that email, then I'll use this password and I will log in here. So once I am logged in, I can go to activity or transactions, and right here you'll see that there was a payment completed of 399 at 7:14 p.m. This is wrong, or maybe it took the date for whichever occasion this account was set to, but we received this payment here. I don't know if we can get more information about it. And let's see. Yeah, for this coach, and yeah, we are able to receive this payment. So yeah, that is it. This is what we will be working on, and I'll be showing you how you can complete payments with PayPal. So in case you're new here, my name is Charles and I create coding content here on YouTube. So if you're interested in content like React, JavaScript, Node.js, and also CSS, you can check out my channel. I have a lot of videos, and if you find it interesting, please make sure you subscribe and turn on post notification so that you don't miss my future videos. Another thing, all the source code for this video and the previous one will be available on my Patreon, so you can go check it out, and that is one of the best way that you can get to support my content. So now let's get started with PayPal payment integration. Okay, so to get started, you need to go to PayPal developer dashboard. So you can search PayPal for developers and you'll click on PayPal developer, and this will take you to the developer dashboard. Okay, now you will need to log into the dashboard, and here you'll use your normal PayPal logins. Okay, so I'll use mine. So I am logged in. If you don't have a PayPal account, you might want to create one. Then you'll use that account to log in to the PayPal developer dashboard. So most probably this is the first page that you'll see, not unless they change in future. But if you come to apps and credentials, you might have a default application here. If you don't, you can create an app, okay? But if you have a default application, I don't think you'll need to create any other app. You can use that default application for testing. If I click on the default application, you'll see that we will have access to a client ID and also a secret ID. Now the next thing that you will need to do is to go to docs, then you can go online, and this will give you the documentation for checkout, for subscriptions, and so on. So we want to perform a checkout, so click on checkout, then you can come to standard, then you can click on integrate here, and once you scroll down here, you'll see we have the documentation for front-end HTML right here, and also we have some documentation for the backend. And if you want to see the full documentation or the full code, you can click on this GitHub repo. But unfortunately now we are doing this on React. We are not doing it on HTML. We are doing it on React. The cool thing is that we also have the documentation for that. So you need to click on customize here, then scroll down here, then we have these standard payments with JavaScript frameworks. So you can click on that one, then you'll scroll down, you'll see we will have documentation for React, Angular, Angular 2, or Vue. But now we want React, so I select React here. Then we will see how we can add JavaScript SDK for PayPal, so that we can be able to create PayPal buttons on our React application. The very first option is adding this script at index.html, then including your client ID. That is straightforward and it works, but we have other options. So right here, to learn more about the default values, see JavaScript SDK script configuration. So if I happen to go to this link, I have clicked on it, you'll see that you can add a script tag, or if you are using a framework, you can use this package, npm package PayPal.js. So you can use it as a module, loading SDK as a module, brings certain advantages, especially when working with a JavaScript framework. Now another cool thing is that we have another package for React. So here it is, React PayPal.js. So this is the package that I want us to use for creating the PayPal buttons. So click on this package or open it on a new page, and this will take you to npm, and we will have a guide on how to make use of it, okay? So I just need to scroll down here, and remember we are using this to just root the JS SDK. So right here, I'll just install this package, npm install alt PayPal stroke react-PayPal.js. So I'll copy that and I'll go into my application. So I have this application which we worked on the last video. So you can check on the last video if you want to use the same. So we need to install this, so I'll just add new, and right here I'll just say npm install that package. Now if we check more on it, you'll see that we are able to import PayPal as script provider from that package, and also we are able to bring in our PayPal buttons. Let us import these somewhere, maybe on app.js, and make sure that we are able to load some buttons. So I will copy and I'll go to this. It finished installing, so I'll just import them on app here. So we are supposed to wrap our app with the PayPal script provider. So right here I'll include our PayPal script provider component, and I'll cover everything with it just like that. I'll save. Now we are supposed to configure some options, some initial options. So if I come back to the docs and scroll down, we need to configure these initial options. So I'll copy this object and I'll come back here, and inside our app, before the return statement, I will include it here. So for the initial options, we have this client ID, so we are supposed to include a client ID, and then we have currency and intent is captcha. Then we have this data client token. I'm not sure what this is used for, so I'll just comment it out, but I'm supposed to get this ID. So let's go back to the browser, then we will go to our developer dashboard. You can come to testing tools. Okay, actually it's not there, but here, app credentials, and here is our client ID. I'll copy that ID and we'll place that right here. So we'll press here, and then we are supposed to pass this as a prop. So right here we pass options and we set it to be our initial options. And now when we use these PayPal buttons, so right here just say PayPal buttons, and I happen to save. Now I can go to the application, and look, we have these PayPal buttons. Awesome. So we are able to load the PayPal script and include our PayPal buttons right here. Awesome. Now this button is not functional. Okay, when I click on it, it's loading, but it will not complete payment for our software here. So we need to make some calls to the PayPal APIs, create order, and then perform payment for that order. So for us to do that, we will use a different approach of adding this button, and I'll actually go ahead and create a new component for this. Okay, so let's do this. In components, I'll create a new file and I'll call this PayPal payment, and then .jsx, and right here I'll create a straight trace functional component, and I'll say PayPal payment. So here is where we are supposed to include our buttons. So we can go back to the docs, and I'll go back one step right here so that we get back to the React documentation, where we had standard payment for JavaScript framework. We click on React, and this is now the React code that we'll be making use of in that component. Okay, so we need to have this function for creating an order, and all it's doing, it's making a call to a backend API that will create the order. It's good to use Node.js on the backend for it to be more secure, and whatever we are passing is the details of our product, the quantity, price, and so on. So here we are passing a cut, and then down here we also are making another request to an API endpoint, and this one now is used to complete the payment for a certain order. As you can see, we are using an order ID, and whatever we are returning from this is order ID, and that order ID is what we are using here to complete the payment for the order. So I will need to copy these two functions the way they are on approve, and also this one, create order. So I will copy those, then I'll go to my application and I'll add them before our return statement here. So these are our helper functions. Now the other thing that I will do is to include the PayPal button, and now you'll see this has more. We have create order as a prop and also on approve as a prop. So I'll come back here and include that at our return. So here we have some issues. Unreachable code detected. So one thing is that this is, I think, class-based component. So we have functional component down here. So we should be able to create these as functions. So I will recopy this from the functional component. So let me copy that, and we will have to remove this. This was for class-based components, and we changed these ones to functions. So I'll paste this. Awesome. Another thing, these were also for class-based components, so we need to remove the this keyword. Sorry for this. Let's just copy this one. But since we are using actions here, we should also make sure that we are including them here, actions, and here actions. So this is now our new component. From the top, this is the create order. We are performing a fetch or a post request to this API endpoint, which we will create in a few. And now we will be making a slight change to this body of the request. And actually this is, I think it's usually optional. Use the body param to optionally pass additional order information. Okay, so whatever I'll pass here is a product. Since it's one, it's not a cat, so here I'll just say product, and then whatever I'll say here is the description of the product, and we can say product is wood, candy, sofa. And now down here we'll also have a cost, and we'll include the cost for this sofa, and I'll say it's 399. Okay, 399.00. So on the back end, I'll be able to receive this information and use it to complete the order, or to create the order. Now on approve, we use the order ID to complete the payment, and so on. So I'll go ahead and save this. Okay, now we have this component, and if I happen to use this component right here, so PayPal payment, and save and go to the website, I will refresh. Okay, it's not working out. We have some issues maybe with the console. PayPal button is not defined, so we need to import PayPal button at our PayPal payment here. So right here, if I use control space, you'll see I'll be able to import these from this package. I'll save, and if I come back, okay, now we are loading the button. So if I refresh, we are able to get the button. But if I happen to click the button, you'll see it's not loading our pop-up to complete the payment, and that is because we don't have the order. Okay, so we need to complete these on our backend. So you can see create order error, it failed to create an order. So what we need to do is to go to our backend, which we don't have, so we should create it. Okay, so let's create a backend folder I'll just add it at the root here as server. So at the root, I'll say server, and at the server, I'll add a new file, index.js, and I'll also add another file. This will be PayPal -API, and then .js. Another thing, I should be able to generate a package.json file. So right here at the terminal, I will cd into the server, and whatever I will do, I will say npm init, and I'll say -y, and this will generate a package.json file at our server here. So there we go, we have this package.json file, and now since we have this, we can be able to install several dependencies. So right here, I'll say npm I, and I will install the .env library so that we can be able to use the environment variables. Then I will install express, and finally I will use node fetch. So actually, if you're using the latest version of Node, you don't need to install node fetch because it's already built in. But I think mine is not the latest, so I'll use node fetch, and I'll hit enter. Okay, now we have the documentation for backend. So most of this code, you don't actually need to type it out. So if I go to the standard payment, so if you go to docs, then standard payment, right here, integrate, not the customized one, but integrate. Then we had seen this area here, backend. So here is the backend code, but this is not the complete code. So if you want the complete code, you can go to the GitHub repo. So I'll open the GitHub repo here, and right here I can use a full stop to open these on Visual Studio Code that is built inside our GitHub. So maybe you know this, maybe you don't. If you don't, then this is a new thing that you have learned today. Now it has loaded, and you'll see here we have advanced integration and we have standard integration. I'm interested in standard integration. Then here we have our index.js, that should be server now. This is the root, and here you'll see we are creating API endpoints for create PayPal order. I don't know if it's too small, but let me try to zoom in. So here we have this API endpoint here, and also we have this one here to capture the order. And you can see we are calling here await PayPal.create order, and we are importing this from our PayPal this file. So if I go to this file, you'll see that we have more details here, some functions, and the first function that you would like to care about is this one, where we are generating an access token using the client ID and the app secret. So using node fetch, we are able to perform a HTTP request, a post request to this PayPal API, and using the client ID and the app secret, we are able to get an access token. Okay, once we get the access token, we are able to use this access token when creating an order here. So create order, you see we are able to use this access token, and we perform a request to this other API endpoint. And right here, whatever we are doing, we are simply passing the details for the order to create it, and also we are passing the access token at the headers for authorization. Once we create the order, we send the ID to the client, and from the client we'll perform another HTTP request, and we'll hit this function again using the API endpoint, and we will use the order ID from above to perform a payment. So right here, again using the access token and the order ID which we are passing down, we are able to perform a payment and we send a response back to the client. So this is straightforward. You can check it out. But whatever we'll be modifying, it's these details here. So I'm going to copy this code, the entire of this code. I'll copy and I'll go to my app, and on the server I'll go to PayPal API.js here and I'll paste. And here is the code now on my VS Code. Now we need to do a few modification here. So here intent is captcha, and this should be similar to whatever you placed as intent on our PayPal buttons. Okay, on the initial setup, I think here we had intent captcha, so those should be same. So if you change intent here, also change on the front end for it to work out. Then here we have payment units. So for payment units, we are passing an object and some details about the payment. So amount, the currency code is USSD, and then we have the value. So for the value, we will be getting this from our front end. So right here, I can say data, and here the data here will be now, the value here will now be data, and then dot product, and then here will be dot cost. So this will be coming from here, product dot cost. Okay, now let me go back to PayPal here dot hyphen API.js. This is the only thing that I need to change here, I think so. So the other thing is index.js. So I'll go back to where we had our code, and I'll go to index.js. Here it's server, it's called server. So I will copy everything from here, and I'll go back to our index.js here, and then I'll paste. Now you'll notice this was used for HTML, that's why we have this static, but I don't want to use this for HTML, so I can just comment that one out, and instead what I want to do is to use React, which is on a different domain. Therefore we should configure course. So right here I can say app.use, and I'll use course. Let me zoom in a little bit. I think the code is a bit too small. So here I'll make use of course, and I'll call this. Then I should be able to bring it in, which I'm not. And therefore right here, let's import course. So I'll say import, and I'll say here course, and this will be from course. Okay, now another thing that you might have noticed is that we are using the import statement. So we are using ES6 module. We should configure that at package.json file. So here we should add type to be module, and I save. So now that should work. Let's come back to index.js. We need to do some more changes. So when creating the order, we will be passing these details through the request body. So we pass them to our order here, create order function from the request body. So right here I'll say request dot body. I'll save, and then this is what we will receive here as data, and we'll get data, more details about our product here. So this is how you can like pass more details to this function. if you had a cart with many details, you can do the same here. Cool. Now let me see what else we are supposed to set up. I think it's the app secret. So that is the .env file. We should add a .env file here, .env. And if we go back to this code, source code from PayPal, you'll see we have .env example here. So we should set this up. I'll copy everything, then I'll go to this one and I'll paste here. Now here we should set up this client ID and app secret. So I'll go back to where we had our client ID, I'll copy it, then I'll paste it here. Then app secret, we need to show it, so I'll copy mine and I'll paste it here. Don't use these ones, I'll be changing them. So I'll save this, and I think we are set. I don't think there is something that we have left out. This will run on port 8888 and our backend will be running. Then if I go to PayPal here, we are using Node fetch. Let's run our backend and we see what happens. So here I'll use Ctrl J and I'll run the backend using nodemon. So nodemon or nodemon. So I'll hit enter and we actually have an error. So cannot find course. Didn't we install course? Import course from course. Let's check package.json. Yeah, we did install course, so let's do that. I'll stop the server npm I course. Now I'll go ahead and run our nodemon. So server is listening on this port 8888. Now if I go to PayPal payment, we should include, I think, the complete path to our API endpoints. So here let us have a server URL. I'll say const server URL, and these will be equal to this link here. So I will copy this one and I'll paste it here. Don't worry about this. I don't know why it pasted itself here. It's crazy. Now I'll remove that. Then we should be able to add it here. I'll use backticks. So backticks, then I can merge it here by reading our server URL as a variable, server URL. I'll do the same for this one. Remember, this setup was meant for HTML and therefore it will not work for React here. We must include this complete path to our API endpoints. So server URL here, and yeah, I think we are good. So I'll save. So now let me test this out. Backend is running, frontend is running, and we should be able to load our login. Okay, so if it loads login, it's working. If it doesn't, we are doomed. Let's just open the inspect here, just in case we have issues. So console, don't worry about that. So if I click PayPal, it's loading, and there we go. So it's bringing in our login information. So this is what we wanted for us to perform payment. So let's try to log in with the testing tools here, sandbox account. What have I done? So I should log in back to my developer dashboard. So once I'm logged in back, you can see this personal, you can use it for payment and you receive the payment on the business one. So I'll go to this one, which is personal here, and I'll copy this email and I'll use that on this pop-up here. So paste. And actually another thing is that once you complete payment here at the dot, then you should tell the client that the payment was successful and so on. Let's do this before we perform the payment. Let's do this. Here we can console.log so that we know something have happened, otherwise we wouldn't. We can say a message here, maybe payment successful, and also let us log to the console maybe the data that we get back, which is this response.json. So I'll copy that and I'll paste it here just to see what we have. So I'll save now. So let's start this process again at our app. Let me remove this one. Then at our app, let me refresh. And once it loads, we can click on this one now. It's loading. Now here you should use these details. So I'll copy this one and paste it here. And then I will use this one, copy and paste it next as the password. So I'll paste the password and I will log in. It's logging in. Let's see. So once it logs in, we are performing payment for this and this. Let's complete purchase and we should go to our app here as it completes purchase, and I think it failed. Oh, okay, it was successful, but it failed to execute JSON here. So since it was returning a promise, but the payment was successful, so we can confirm that by going to Sandbox. So sandbox.paypal.com, and you log in to either your personal account or your business account. On personal account, it should decrease the amount that was there, but on business, it should increase. So I'll log in here. Let me include this. I'll copy and I'll paste here. I'll log in. So you can see we have two payments now on today. This was the first one that I was showing you at the beginning of the video for the demo, and now this is the one that we have performed just right now. So it's working. Okay, now the next step is to maybe save the order to the database, and you can show it to the client and so on. So for order details, we have it both here and also we have it here. So actually what I was supposed to do here is to use a .then for this response. So I was supposed to say .then, and I think we would have our order. I'm not sure, but let's see. And here I can just log the order to the console.log of order, and let me say this is the order. or I can just call it response. I think I'm missing this return here, so so here what I did is I include a return, and then here we log data to the console. So this data has more details about the purchase. So you can see we have an ID, we have the payer information, and then we have payment ID there, we have payment source, and we have purchase unit, and so on. So I think this ID is the order ID, and now you can use this order ID to update your order at the database or save more details about the order at the database. Okay, and you can usually do that on the backend API. Remember, before we send this data to the front end, we will already be having it at our capture here, our response here. So right here, after a complete payment, you can do your database updates here. Okay, db updates, and remember also here you are creating the order, only that it was not being paid. So also here you can perform a db update. So what you can do here is create the order, and then once payment is successful, you can update the order as paid right here. And if you want to know more about order details, I think you need to explore the docs more. I don't know if I'll get it. PayPal developer orders. Developer orders. So let's see. Orders API. Yeah, we have it. So you just need to search on this orders API and see what we have, and you'll see that you can create a post, you can create an order. Here you can update an order, and here you can get order details. Okay, so if you need more information about the order and you are having the ID of the order, then I'm sure you'll be able to use this PayPal API to get more order details and make changes to your DB. So you can explore the documentation more. So one last thing that you might want to do is to conditionally show the buttons, whether a user has clicked this button or not. So that is just a simple state management of whether the button is clicked or not. If it's clicked, you show. If not, you hide. So I'll not cover that, and that means that this is the end of this video, and that is how you can process payment with PayPal. It's pretty easy in both React and Node.js. Let me know if you like to see more PayPal payment videos, and also more React and Tailwind projects, and tell me exactly what you will want to see next, and I'll be checking them out. So that is it for this video, and I'll be seeing you in the next one.